Hi. So, now that this month's PlayStation State of Play has come and gone, I thought I would give my reaction and thoughts on the matter, and it was quite the entertaining presentation, I would say. Hey, so let's begin as they led off with an extended gameplay of the upcoming Wolverine game, headed throughout the September her, and I actually like how they're showing off an early taste of the story as well, and how they're building upon what they've done in their other title, Insomniac, especially their Spider-Man game, to show how they can handle more than one beloved superhero. That's not the only appearance that he's going to be making in this presentation either. Okay, case in point. More footage of Marvel Tokun, and yet more characters are joining the roster her as part of Victor's Knights of Doom. We have Carnage, Magneto, and the Green Goblin. Definitely very interesting variants of some of Marvel's most recognizable villains. Some of my favorite ones, in fact. That and there's also one more team to be he announced fairly soon, with a little over 2 months before the game launches, is on on August 6th. I mean, I think it should be fun. You had me at a Marvel fighting game from the people who worked on Blaze Blue, Guilty Gear, and Dragon Ball Fighter Z, among countless others. Oh, and as part of the revival for Rayman, it also turns out the rumors were indeed true this time, where we have indeed a an appearance for ones of Rayman Legends Retold, which looks to be a fantastic heck, reversioning of one of the Limitless Wonder's best 2D platform outings, and this time they are thankfully not doing the boneheaded move of putting up right against GTA, who would have already been out, but I'll definitely be okay waiting for November for that one if it means the game ends up being better for it, especially under these circumstances. And another surprise reveal from the makers of Day the Diver. Here comes a prequel, which should be just as enjoyable but also relaxing. Boncho the Chef, which is made by the same creatives. It is. I definitely, as someone who rather enjoys Day the Diver, I look forward to seeing what Mint Rocket will be able to do with this concept. Now let's keep the ball rolling. There's yet more titles ahead. Okay, so now it's going to be one of several whole games coming out in 2027, then, which is not to really start thinking about Kimuri. It really has potential, and I'm actually really glad that this presentation did not have much in the way of live services, especially given how many of those are seem to be going belly up, and how there were concerns that they would have talked about the how the ill-fated fair games, and which may or may not be rebranded as break-in, and or that Horizon spin-off, which I was offered for an Evite 2, which it's closed beta, but ultimately passed on. Believe me, there'll be another time, especially as another game I'll be addressing fairly soon. Fairly soon. With that being the case, Tomb Raider Legacy of Atlantis, we now have more gameplay, stairs being shown off, they've expanded, handed the opening mission in Peru, who more than ever seen more and more of the feathery and ferocious dinosaurs that Lara faces off against. See just how complex the early platforming mission is just to get to the front door, where the direwolves are waiting. I also like how they've maintained faithfulness to the original story, albeit necessary updates for technical purposes, like how she gets her initial assignment on iPad rather than a laptop uh, though. And it has been delayed ever so slightly. It was going to be this year, but is now going to be releasing on February 12th of next year, delayed to just before Lara's canonical birthday. Nice. And here's a couple quick ones. On a somewhat cryptic teaser for another game coming out in 2027 involving dinosaurs and survival, simply called The Lost Wild. Okay. Phantom Blade Zero, which is coming out in the summer, but also there's more details on that game, so I'm going to wait for that. I will say this. Dune Awakening coming to PS5 in September is nice. I definitely figured that the system could run the game. PS4 will have trouble with it. As someone who heartily enjoys Frank Herbert's landmark novel, as well as the films, especially the recent Villeneuve adaptations, and I'm willing to try this title, and I definitely am eager to see what I can do. Comes September 22nd. Hope the knife may chip and shatter. Okay, so Dynasty Warriors, those 3 remastered complete. I'm not a huge Dynasty Warriors fan, as I mentioned before, but I do at least like the Warriors Musou concept as a gameplay loop, even if they're trying to insert protagonists that is as bland as tap water into this new game. Personally, I think I would have preferred if they gave him the Cole Young special instead. Too soon? No Rest for the Wicked. It's definitely has another one that has potential, but what is even more exciting than that is Onimusha Way of the Sword. Coming out September 25th. The demo is out now. On top of one of the legacy titles coming to PS Plus. More on that in a few moments. Also, more information ever so slightly on Silent Hill Townfall, coming September 24th, just in time for Halloween. A little bit early, in fact. I am still maintaining cautious optimism by way of skepticism about this game, but given how both the remake of the second game as well as the spin-off Silent Hill F actually did really well, hopefully the franchise will continue its upward trajectory the same way that Resident Evil has been able to win back its audience, and by going back to basics, even with the blight that was Return to Silent Hill. As in choice words for that one. Count on that. So, not only do we have a yet more information on Ace Combat 8 coming on October 2nd, as it turns out, it will also be including in the fan favorite prequel in its entirety for both as a bonus as for both pre-order and early purchase. Ace Combat 0 The Belkin War in its entirety. I always like it when new games include a legacy game as a pre-order purchase, pre-order bonus. Like what happened with getting Master Quest for as an Ocarina of Time for people who pre-ordered Wind Waker back in the day. Especially think that with all these other legacy titles getting revivals, they could do that to help raise interest as well. And here's another surprise for another revival of a game from years past. I mean, which only had 2 installments since it was named before, and with Saber Interactive now being the third third host to these games that I can imagine. And Stuntman Hollywood, and this time they're actually using real vehicles and not just ones with serial numbers are filed off just enough to not get sued by its holders. I noticed, and there are probably going to be more as we get more information. And the DeLorean Back to the Future trilogy, the Interceptor from Mad Max, Kid from Knight Rider, and one of the many supercars from Fast and Furious franchise. Given how the other games were challenging but also quite entertaining, I certainly hope that this one can be in that same mold, and I can also think of plenty of other cars I could see doing collabs as with of all across pop culture. On top of my head, I'm thinking in some version of the Batmobile, he'll the Moose Machine Scooby Doo, and the Camaro that was like the stunt car from Bumblebee and Transformers franchise. Them a few, yeah. All right, we've also got another survival horror title coming out in 2027 known as Ill. It could be good. I'm not the most familiar with this publisher or developer, but I'm definitely going to keep an eye on this one. On hopefully it ends up being alright. What I definitely think will work is Control Resonance coming September 24th, the long-awaited sequel to the highly acclaimed and Control from developers Remedy Entertainment. Probably my favorite of their titles, I would say. Though I do appreciate how both those games, Alan Wake, and their other ones they made on their own umbrella are in the same visual universe, and though I do still submit that in all likelihood, this will probably mean that despite the claims otherwise, Firebreak's day is probably numbered, or especially given how it's currently stamp player counts are putting Concord to shame. Oof. Alright, so Marathon Season 2, currently in progress. I'm enjoying it so far. I need more practice with the Sentinel shell, which is joining the game. But I'm enjoying it this week, and I intend to get the full game before the calendar hits 2027. And RuneScape Dragon Wilds, a different take on the beloved massive multiplayer role-playing game, but this direction is nearly not doing it for me. Feel free to let me know whenever the old school classic version comes out. I mean, if they have it on mobile phones, then I could imagine, and it should not be too fine to get it on like a state-of-the-art console like this. I mean, especially since it might be a bit longer since we get it's the PS6, which I'm honestly okay with. It would have been, given how much I love my PS5 and how many hours I logged into Spider-Man 2 and Astrobot alone. Oh yes. And now I get to talk more about what's coming to PS Plus Premium. We get a taste of what's coming this month, and so as the rest of summer. This month, Gitaru Man and the cult classic rhythm action game, in which an ordinary person gains the confidence and to woo his love and to defend his home against an invading force with her music. Psyops Mind Game Conspiracy, which, along with other ones like Second Sight, I'm glad is getting more recognition it deserves. Like, even I was initially skeptical about the game. In fact, given how popular other titles are There's people clamoring for revivals of Infamous and Prototype as well. I think it just came out in the wrong time before the audience are ready to accept something like that. And when the Musha Dawn of Destiny, I'm really glad that Capcom was going on a revival of one of their lesser known franchises, which certainly is not totally without its audience, but I'm glad that they're starting to give it more of a push because I think it definitely deserves to have a similar kind of recognition that something like, say, Street Fighter, Resident Evil, and now Monster Hunter have. At least that's just me. Alright, so 2027 Until Dawn 2, a full on sequel to the hit interactive horror title, which also has elements of visual novel, which has all the same crew who are back. And even though it was never really my favorite one of those games, I'm definitely open to seeing what this one can do. If they can build upon what about the first game, as well as expand upon things that need to be refined more, which is what I usually want out of any good sequel, personally. A And now the final title of this presentation, which is thankfully much more of a Sephiroth joining Smash or a Sonic 2 movie trailer than a high guard for one more thing, if that's. I mean, I knew that they were going to be making one more game to close out the existing God of War trilogy on top of giving like a full on remake of that magnitude to the original games. I just did not expect that they would go this route. It starts off with like the 2018 game and the funeral pyre sequence and from that one, but then it takes a left turn into the and actually very interesting gameplay. Even this early stage work in progress, I really like what I'm seeing and how it is definitely a unique perspective on it. On it, I the title in question is God of War Laufey, and even though there's no release date for this one yet, is currently in development. So, as you could imagine, I'm excited to see what Sony and Santa Monica Studio have to offer for this game. I definitely thought I would give you something as I work on my review of Mega Dimension, the original Sonic, and getting tickets to He-Man, then Toy Story, and then Supergirl. Just so you're not just as playing my systems as well as rewatching Mortal Kombat 2 and Hoppers. Though, I can definitely say, A, that admittedly is also true, to say the least. That'll be all for now, and depending on how much I progress on my other videos, you'll either see some smaller ones, or you'll see me scale things back a bit. So, take care, everyone.